The story of What the Health is framed about a regular guy discovering a single document from the World Health Organization.
The World Health Organization classifies processed meat as a Group 1 carcinogen, the same group as cigarettes, asbestos, and plutonium, and classifies red meat as a Group 2 carcinogen,
which he claims as proof that science has agreed that processed meat and red meats are directly linked to cancer. He is extremely upset about this, and he will make sure every secretary in America knows about it.
At your website, we noticed heart healthy recipes, and we were kind of bewildered by why there's a bunch of recipes on a whole section on beef recipes, and there's also a section on egg recipes when there's such a strong link between beef, red meat, and heart disease.
I honestly don't know because I don't do that, I guess. That's not what I do.
As a result of this report, the WHO Cancer Research Division put processed meats in Group 1, which is the highest in substances believed to cause cancer, and red meats in Group 2. One of the claims is that processed meats will increase colorectal cancer by 18%.
World Health Organization this morning has classified processed meat such as bacon and sausage as carcinogenic, directly involved in causing cancer in humans.
Processed meat is clearly linked to an increase in cancer.
Hot dogs or bacon could be just as dangerous as smoking cigarettes.
The World Health Organization had looked at over 800 studies from 10 different countries, finding a direct link to consuming processed meat and cancer. Just one serving of deli meats daily increases your risks of colorectal cancer by 18%.
This number is supposed to sound scary, but it's either a misrepresentation or a fabrication of the science. We are quickly going to look into how this decision was made, with what evidence, the controversy behind this decision, and why you should take it significantly less seriously than the movie does. The decision for processed meats was made by a panel of 22 people. They reviewed the evidence in order to make a determination through a majority rule system. The conclusion was not unanimous, which the paper points out, but the documentary does not. In nutritional science, there are three kinds of evidence from strongest to weakest: animal models, mechanistic data, epidemiology. But the decision of 18% exclusively depended on the epidemiological evidence. This led to claims both from the report and the movie that eating 50 grams of meat a day will increase your risk of cancer by 18%. Once again, this number may sound scary, but if you check the citation, it is in fact not as serious as suggested. The study shows that from eating meat, your relative risk increased at 22% or 14%, with an average being at 18%. The absolute risk for colon cancer, which means getting colon cancer no matter what, is about 4.5%. So if you trust the data provided, and if you do these calculations, you can determine your new absolute risk. That's right, your risk of colon cancer actually increased less than 1%. You can easily see how misleading this movie is. But we are led to another problem, both for us and the movie: the reliability of this study. While the movie accepts this study as blind fact, we must point out that an increase of relative risk is so low that it is likely an abnormality in the data. If the relative risk is less than 2, or in some medical associations 5, the study is considered unreliable, and it would be inappropriate to make conclusions from it. For example, here is another epidemiological study that shows the relative risk of cancer through smoking. Keep in mind, the higher the relative risk, the more reliable the study is in determining the thing we're actually measuring to cause the cancer. Let's say the absolute risk of lung cancer is 7.1%, a number we get from knowing that 1 in 14 males will get lung cancer in their lifetime. From the paper we learn, there is a 93.2 relative risk of squamous cell carcinoma, a 100.2 relative risk of small cell lung cancer, and an 18 relative risk of adenocarcinoma. In each of these possibilities, we can easily see a pattern from smoking and cancer, and a relative risk that far outweighs the measly 1.18 of the processed meat study. So let's finish the calculations to determine our new absolute risk. The final tally is 15,000.94%. The new absolute risk of getting cancer is off the chart. I think I have made my point, but I would like to compare the stats of the two studies one last time. As you can see, the distance is drastic, which is why we consider epidemiological studies about smoking reliable, and not so for the processed meat study. The pattern is just undeniable. This is just one study in the WHO report, and one that What the Health either lied about or misunderstood completely. It's honestly unclear. But every study except one provided by What the Health is like this. And all have a relative risks lower than the high standard of 5, one having a slightly higher risk than 2. The rest are below this standard. Now you might say that smoking is an unfair comparison. To that I say, it is a comparison the movie makes multiple times.
Was this like I had essentially been smoking my entire childhood?
When you look at chronic disease risk, all the things that we walk around worrying about, actually dietary choices trump smoking when it comes to those risks.
Suggesting that eating just one egg a day can be as bad as smoking 5 cigarettes per day for life expectancy.
When we speak of heart disease, I would say the role of alcohol is pretty small. The role of sugar is very small too. Smoking is big, but the good news is that most people have quit or never did smoke. The problem with animal-based diet, its contribution to heart disease is huge and it is pervasive.
The strategy is not on making their products any safer. The strategy is to just try to confuse the public, to introduce doubt. You know, there's a famous tobacco industry memo. It's called Doubt is Our Product.
This would be like a lung association having a how to roll your own cigarette section on their website. It's kind of the same thing. Recipes? This was just like the American Cancer Society encouraging eating group 1 carcinogens on their site. Meatloaf, pork loin. This would be like the American Lung Association taking money from the tobacco industry.
As you can see, this movie makes constant comparisons to smoking and big tobacco. For 2 reasons. In order to establish that meat is bad for you as smoking, which for one study provided by the movie has been proven wrong. The second reason is to make comparisons with the smoking industry and the meat industry, in which corporations are hiding the benefits of a vegan diet from the masses. It plays upon viewers' insecurities about large corporations, while at the same time the pharmaceutical industry is doing the same thing, because if you eat meat, according to this movie, you are more likely to get sick, and therefore the drug companies can sell more drugs to you. These are serious claims, and there's very little evidence to support it, but we'll quickly look into just a few pieces of evidence that the movie provides.